Okay, let me first talk about the negative side, the disadvantage. Okay, there's a long argument based on various assumptions. First point was that DPJ, Democratic Party of Japan, will break up because of opposition of Ozawa. Actually, with our plan, we introduced in the plan number 3, we introduced expenditure reduction and the social welfare reform. That will not happen because Ozawa has no reason to justification to be against Oda. Actually, quote, Sankei newspaper, March 29th, 2012, quote, this is an interview to Ozawa. I'm not denying the proposition of consumption tax increase. Rather, I was one who insisted that consumption tax should be increased necessarily, should be increased. My stance is no tax increase without reform, without vision of social welfare, without revitalization of the economy. That means if we introduce plan number 3 in our plan, there's no reason for Ozawa to oppose the NODA. Okay, number 2, second point is diet will not be dissolved anytime soon. Actually, both DPJ and LDP know that this is not a good strategy to dissolve the diet when Hashimoto's group is so popular, as the negative side mentioned. So therefore, now this 3-party meeting among DPJ, LDP, and Komeei party is going on to reach some agreement. So actually, it is expected that today they may reach agreement. If that happens, actually they will reach agreement and that will not be dissolved. Okay? And the third point is Hashimoto is actually not so strong opponent of nuclear power. Actually, he is quite flexible about the nuclear power plant issue. This is contrary to negative assumption. June 10th, Osaka newspaper, quote, Osaka mayor told Hashimoto, who was a strong proponent of abolition of nuclear power plant, gave de facto approval on restarting the nuclear power plant with the condition of temporary operation. He thought about risk of planned blackout during the summertime. Okay, so he is quite practical and flexible in the nuclear power plant policy. And fourth point is actually Japanese people is for the gradual abolition of nuclear power plant. According to Asahi Shimbun, Asahi newspaper, June 15th, Asahi newspaper published the result of opinion poll in June 14th. 74% of people surveyed supported gradual abolition of nuclear power plant. Okay, so that means that even if that Hashimoto takes the government, he would take this policy according to the support of Japanese people. And I can explain later that this policy will not be bad for Japanese economy. Okay, then coming back to the negative side argument against our first constructive speech. Actually, the point is that now the economy situation of Tohoku area, which was hit by the earthquake, is still very bad condition. So we need to invest in Tohoku. Okay? We need to invest in Tohoku to recover the economy of that area. And that will save people in Tohoku area. And at the same time, that will that will revitalize Japanese economy. Okay? So the issue is investment in Tohoku area. That will, of course, the key beneficiary of that investment is Tohoku people. But at the same time, that investment will create demand for other area, and that will revitalize Japanese economy. Actually, my partner explained in the last argument that this evidence of Tokyo Mitsubishi Tokyo evidence report that investment in Tohoku will create demand in Japan. That is based on the assumption that Tohoku is a key center of the supply chain of various kind of product. So if Tohoku economy is revitalized, that will have a big impact on the Japanese economy. This evidence shows that assuming that 20 trillion yen investment is given to Tohoku area, that ripple effect is much bigger.
Okay. Cross-examination by the next.
Thank you for your speech. The first argument that you make with regard to the Sankei News evidence is that currently NODA has agreed not to argue for consumption tax without also having some kind of social welfare reform, correct?
Actually, Ozawa is claiming that this social welfare reform is necessary if we want to introduce.
Right, and we recognize that NODA believes that it's necessary, but what prevents the DPG from opposing the reforms? I'm sorry, the DPJ. Why won't they oppose the reforms? If they are currently against it, what is going to cause them to be swayed by the fact that NODA wants to pass this legislation?
Why you mean DPJ is against the?
Well, our evidence indicates that the DPJ will fracture because of disagreement over the plan.
Among the,
Right. So if NODA wants to pass the plan, what guarees that the DPJ won't fracture?
Okay. Because my argument is that this is because of Ozawa. Okay. Ozawa's argument is we have to have a reform, social welfare reform. Okay. So if we introduce this plan, social welfare reform, at the same time with the consumption tax increase, there's no reason for Ozawa to be against NODA.
Okay. I want to shift gears a little bit then to talk about the people of the Tohoku region. How are their current recovery efforts going? Do you think that they've made a lot of progress in the recovery and the rebuilding?
We explained that the recovery is very slow.
Okay. So how is it then that we are going to, and I assume that part of that is a result of high unemployment, right?
No. High unemployment is a result of this slow recovery.
Okay.
Because the investment is too small, still there's a high unemployment.
Okay, so what guarantees then that the increases in government revenues will trickle down to the people of the Tohoku region and allow them to have lower unemployment, better infrastructure?
Yeah, because we invest.
Is your argument that all of that money will be spent there?
Yeah, all the increased revenue will be invested in Tohoku. That amount will be sufficient for the recovery of Tohoku.
And so what kinds of programs, investments will be made?
For example, to recover the infrastructure of the Tohoku, or to encourage the creation of a new industry and so on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, time's up. And preparation time.